Setting up telepresence for fighter control. Fighter deployed. I'm here if you need me.
Deployed. Programming limpet drone. Programming limpet drone. Programming limpet drone.
In review, here are this week's major stories. A series of successful operations against the League of Reparation has led to much of the terrorist group being dismantled. But while the group has been dealt a severe blow, agents have yet to identify the organization's coordinator, Nexus. Meanwhile, an independent report suggests that a French Thargoid-worshipping cult may in fact be harboring undercover Thargoid agents. A leading exotheologian responded by saying that he did not believe the group to be a threat, despite its unsettling beliefs. Political journalist Katia Carvalho has compiled a profile on Jordan Rochester, fiancé of
Programming limpet drone.
Princess Aisling Duval, for the Imperial Herald. The article documents Rochester's family history and raises the question of how he will balance being both a federal statesman and an imperial consort. In other news, celebrated author Rolav Redcourt has begun a promotional tour that will take him to over 50 destinations throughout the core systems. The tour will support Redcourt's new novel, Corsair King and the Storm of Desire, the 14th in a series of swashbuckling historical romances set in the 27th century. Didier Manger Emperor's Grace has completed work on the Tiverion Academy, a flight school for Imperial Naval Cadets, and is hosting an inaugural banquet to mark the event. The organization has placed an open order for exotic food and drinks to be served at the celebratory banquet, and issued an appeal for mined resources, which will be used to construct a statue of Admiral Myra Tiverion. Finally, the campaign to supply a scientific project in Colonia has now concluded, and construction of a resource management center has begun. Hundreds of independent pilots made the journey to deliver commodities to Tier Technology Services in the Tier system. And those are the main stories this week. A profile of Jordan Rochester. Responding to public interest in Princess Aisling Duval's fiancé, Federal Ambassador Jordan Rochester, political journalist Cassia Carvalho has compiled a profile for the Imperial Herald. Jordan Rochester is now a household name throughout the Empire, though few were aware of him prior to his engagement to Princess Duval. But in the Federation, the Rochesters have been associated with success for over 200 years. The Rochester name can be traced back to self-made tycoon Apollo Rochester, who was the biggest landowner on Biggs Colony in the Altair system. Each generation since has strived for fame and wealth, and the expression "as rich as a Rochester" has become common parlance. The family matriarch is Isolde Rochester. She is a member of Congress, an influential figure in the Liberal Party and a staunch supporter of Shadow President Felicia Winters. Isolde raised 5 children, including Jordan, and it was her accomplishments that inspired her son to enter politics. Jordan's siblings chose different paths. The eldest, Jupiter Rochester, is an executive with Core Dynamics, with a personal fortune in the billions. 15 years ago he had his own celebrity marriage, to actor Thomas Turai. They now have 2 teenage children, daughter Carly, and son Kalen. Jordan's sisters, Juno and Jocasta, have impressive Navy careers, holding the ranks of Vice Admiral and Post Captain respectively. Only Jordan's younger brother, Jonah, has no title. He is believed to be the black sheep of the family. Despite being just 34, Jordan has already made his mark. He has overseen several high-level negotiations on behalf of the Federal Diplomatic Corps, and is now a trusted envoy, noted for his charm and tact. His future will be interesting, to say the least. How will he balance being both a federal statesman and an imperial consort? And what are the wider ramifications of the Rochester dynasty aligning with the House of Duval? Even more so than his predecessors, Jordan Rochester has already ensured that history will remember his family's name. The Didiomantia Emperor's Grace Academy inauguration. The Didiomantia Emperor's Grace has completed work on the Tiverion Academy, a flight school for Imperial Naval Cadets. The organization is hosting an inaugural banquet to mark the event, and to honor the late Admiral Myra Tiverion, the organization's founding member, who will have a monument erected at the site. A spokesperson for the Didiomantia Emperor's Grace released the following statement. The Tiverion Academy will provide new recruits with cutting-edge training facilities to host a fitting banquet for its inauguration. We require help in sourcing a range of exotic food and drink. We also require a quantity of gold to make the monument raised in the Admiral's memory a truly spectacular tribute. The campaign begins on the 5th of July 3304, and will run for 1 week. If the final target is met earlier than planned, the campaign will end immediately. Colonia campaign concludes. The campaign to supply a scientific project in Colonia has now concluded, and construction of a resource management center has begun. Hundreds of independent pilots made the journey to deliver commodities to Tier Technology Services, in the Tier system. Professor Alexei de la Vega, in charge of the research project, made this statement. With the construction of a research center, we will be able to monitor population spikes and manage resource allocation throughout the region. Pilots who contributed to the project can now collect their rewards from Bolden's Enterprise, in the Tier system. Starport status update. This report presents the latest data on starports experiencing technical issues as a result of Thargoid sensor-related interference. The following starports are currently closed. Aran Dock, HIP 17838. Gary Gateway, Tasheka. Gentle Survey, Jolagro. Gordon City, Anagori. Meanwhile, the following starports are on the brink of closure. Hurston Platform, Yamahan. Malfast Terminal, Pleiades Sector, HR, W, D1, 41. Newman Camp, Shinrata Desra. Mitchell Ring, Karnawek. Delay Survey, Alhame.
Collector limpet expired. Programming limpet drone.
Cube Mugdal Enterprise, Kakas. Norgay Hub, Obambori. A Thargoid fifth column. Amid growing public mistrust of a fringe sect that worships the Thargoids, a report suggests that the group's members may be undercover Thargoid agents. Independent journalist Flint Firemaker Lafosse shared his theories via the Rewired news feed. I'm sure you're all just as creeped out as I am by those hooded monks and their stinking hive chapels. Granted, being creepy isn't a crime, and I must live and let live as the next man. But isn't it strange that this cult is rising just as the Thargoids return in force? The idea of humans working on behalf of aliens might sound crazy, but think about it. All those escape pods captured by Thargoid ships, what did they want them for? After a bit of brainwashing, they'd make perfect spies, sent back to infiltrate humanity using this religion as a cover. What scares me is that these freaks don't communicate. They just lurk in the dark, waiting. Why are they so mysterious? What's going on in those chapels? For all we know,
Collector limpet expired. Programming
they're seeding
limpet
our
drone.
planets with barnacles and eggs, right under our noses. Leading exotheologian Dr. Alfred Alyanov responded with this comment. I can categorically answer one point. The reason the Thargoid worshippers are not interested in communicating is that, from their point of view, we will all be dead soon.
Collector limpet expired.
As for the rest of this speculation, nothing in my studies has caused me to suspect this group to be a threat, despite its unsettling beliefs. Major victories against the League of Reparation. A series of successful operations against the League of Reparation has led to much of the terrorist group being dismantled. Captain Niam Sutonia, A member of the Tri-Superpower Task Force investigating the League released this statement. Over the last few days,
Programming limpet drone.
Senior Agent Ramirez and I have led multiple
Programming limpet drone.
raids against the League of Reparation. We interdicted several of their ships and located many outposts concealed within Imperial and Federal systems. The key to these victories was the decryption of their communications network. Despite meeting fierce resistance, our security forces arrested or eliminated dozens of League members. In some cases, we acted just in time to prevent further murderous acts against those descended from members of the INRA. We believe the League has been dealt a fatal blow, but we are still investigating how they gained access to top-level comms encryption and other restricted equipment, which suggests support from influential individuals. Furthermore, we have yet to identify Nexus, the organization's coordinator. We have many fresh leads, however, and expect further results soon. Milo Vespa, an editor for the Alliance Tribune, published this opinion piece. This may be great news for some, but what about our citizens? The task force should be hunting down these animals in the Alliance. We know they're here.
Collector limpet expired.
With
Programming
Admiral
limpet
Buchanan
drone.
and Lathan, the trap is set for Chief Inspector
Programming limpet drone.
Kilbride, whose bravery we will never forget. Why isn't a replacement out there on raids too? Deputy Inspector Klatt was unavailable for comment. Author begins interstellar book tour. Celebrated author, Olav Redcourt, has begun a promotional tour, visiting over 50 destinations throughout the core systems. His new novel, Corsair King and the Storm of Desire, is the 14th in a series of swashbuckling historical romances set in the 27th century. A press
Collector limpet expired.
release from Bone Spire Publishing stated, after many months of waiting,
Programming limpet drone.
the next book in Olav Redcourt's Pulse
Programming limpet drone.
Pounding series is at last on sale.
Programming limpet drone.
To mark the occasion, we have organized an epic tour so that loyal readers can meet the creator of the Corsair King, Lady Last Day, Rufkis, and all their other favorite characters. The tour will begin in the Blatrum system and conclude 2 months later in Procyon. As with all releases from Bone Spire Publishing, readers will be able to customize the holo novel to enhance their reading pleasure. Our easy-to-use controls allow the reader to revise narrative structure, vocabulary and characterization, and the plot line will have multiple option points, enabling you to determine an ending that meets your tastes. An independent reporter approached Mr. Redcourt as he was boarding a passenger liner, but was only able to record a few short statements. These included, bounced across space like a damn human pinball, and nothing but meat for the sausage factory. The author's agent, Margot Hist, told the media, "I wouldn't pay much attention to that. Olav was probably just thinking aloud while developing a new character." Week in review. Here are this week's major stories. Chief Inspector Kay Kilbride has been murdered by terrorist organization the League of Reparation.
Programming limpet drone.
The incident took place in the city of New Rossif on Turnus World. In the wake of Inspector Kilbride's death, Alliance Interpol has assigned Deputy Inspector Mara Klatt to assume the role of Task Force Liaison. There has been a range of reactions to news that Princess Aisling Duval and Federal Ambassador Jordan Rochester are to marry. A congratulatory message was sent from the Imperial Palace, but there was no comment from Emperor Arissa Lavigny Duval. Senator Zemina Torval was frank in her disapproval, while Senator Caspian Leopold, who was rumored to be courting Aisling Duval, was more supportive. Aegis has announced that it will allow technology brokers to reduce their requirements for items, in order to increase overall combat effectiveness against the Thargoids. A spokesperson for Aegis said the galactic community had worked hard to oppose the Thargoids, and that Aegis would therefore make it easier for independent pilots to obtain advanced weaponry and hardware. Meanwhile, an emergency report from Aegis has confirmed that the Thargoids have launched a large-scale assault on the Dekiat system. The organization has called on all members of the galactic community for assistance in defending the system, which is home to the Garate Terminal starport. A fringe religion that worships the Thargoids has become the target of hostility, with large numbers of civilian protesters reacting angrily to the sect's openly pro-Thargoid stance. Authorities
Collector limpet expired.
have responded with assurances that the sect's members are harmless, and that criminal acts against them may result in prosecution. In other news, scientists in Colonia have announced plans to build an outpost to monitor the region's population and resources. Professor Alexei de la Vega, who is heading the project, said the proposed outpost would focus on ensuring that the ever-expanding region would have sufficient resources in the long term. Finally, an operation to support construction of an Aegis military facility in the Pleiades Nebula has reached a successful conclusion. Hundreds of pilots supported the initiative by delivering mined resources to the Oracle, and by protecting
Programming limpet drone.
it is in the system. And those are the main stories this week. Thargoid worshipping cult garners hostility. Public reaction to a French religion that worships the
Collector limpet expired.
Thargoids is one of mistrust and hostility, according to security reports. The nameless cult believes in the coming of the so-called Far God, and the subsequent extinction of all humanity bar themselves. Their hive chapels, inspired by Thargoid design, have sprung up on several independent worlds and in a few Federation and Alliance systems. Security forces in these locations
Programming limpet drone.
have made numerous arrests for misdemeanors directed
Programming limpet drone.
at the sect. These
Programming limpet drone.
include graffiti, property damage,
Collector limpet expired.
verbal abuse and physical assault. There are no recorded cases of
Programming limpet drone.
worshippers retaliating, defending themselves or seeking assistance. Juanita Bishop, who runs a vocal citizen protection campaign, claims she is warning the public about a genuine danger. If these Thargoid
Collector limpet expired.
lovers don't want to be human anymore,
Programming limpet drone.
they shouldn't be allowed to live among other humans. Our governments should pack these foul-smelling freaks into ships and send them off to join the aliens they love so much. And if they don't, it's up to us to stop them. Do you really want these degenerates to creep into your home at night and do obscene alien things to your family? Many authorities have responded along the same lines as Councillor Quinn Dan Ego at the Aran Barahan system. I would like to assure citizens that the Far God worshippers, while strange, are essentially harmless. Furthermore, criminal acts against them, including incitement to violence, may result in prosecution. The right to freedom of religion is protected by law in all systems where the sect has a presence. Starport status update. This report presents the latest data on starports experiencing technical issues as a result of Thargoid sensor-related interference. To Charlouis Enterprise, TN. Goof Dock, Azrael. Hansen Platform, Djimavi. Kennen Vision, NLTT 14879. Cube Mugdal Enterprise, Kakas. Rennie Hub, Euroa. Singer Orbital, Matsia. State Now Survey, Cerno. Thomas Claim, Talon. Vauculus Vision, Veroclist. Walker Port, HIP 14886. The following starports continue to experience technical issues. Sturcow Port, SPOCS 253. The following starports are on the brink of closure. Aran Dock, HIP 17838. Gary Gateway, Tasheka. Gentle Survey, Jolagro. Gordon City, Ayagori. Morgan Port, Kuanyin. Morton's Paradise, Desi. Colonia Scientific Installation Project. Scientists in Colonia have announced plans to build a scientific outpost in the system
Collector limpet expired.
to monitor the region's population and resources. Professor Alexei de la Vega, who is heading the project, published this statement. Our recent study into the region's population increase has revealed alarming statistics. If Colonia's population continues to increase at the current rate, it could lead to a serious depletion of resources at some point in the future. Monitoring infrastructure, terraforming, logistics and other issues will require the construction of a dedicated center for resource management. This will allow us to study the aggregated data and formulate a structured solution to avoid potential problems. The campaign is being run by TIER Technology Services, one of Colonia's partner organizations, which has asked pilots to deliver commodities to Bolden's Enterprise in the TIER system. The campaign begins on the 28th of June 3304 and will run for 1 week. If the final target is met earlier than planned, the campaign will end
Programming limpet drone.
immediately.
drone.
Aegis
Programming limpet drone.
installation operation complete. The operation to support construction of an Aegis military facility in the Pleiades sector, IRW, D155 has reached a successful conclusion. Hundreds of pilots supported the initiative by delivering mined resources to the Oracle, and by protecting traders in the system. An Aegis spokesperson made the following statement. Every pilot who contributed to this operation should feel a great deal of pride in what they've achieved. The construction of this military installation will allow us to more effectively resist external aggression. Pilots who contributed to the initiative can now collect their rewards from the Oracle in the Pleiades sector, IRW, D155. Restoring order in Fusang. Security forces in the Fusang system reporting that criminal organizations in the area are executing more frequent and audacious raids on civilian traffic. Wing Commander Horatio Montana Fusang Security had this to say: our resources are stretched with the Thargoid threat, and a certain criminal element has taken advantage, increasing their presence in the system and attacking trade convoys. While our forces are continuing to maintain order, the need to defend the system from external threats has had an impact on our overall effectiveness. With the help of Blue Creative Company, we hope to curb this sudden increase in crime, and continue to concentrate our resources on combating the alien insurrection. To counter this threat, the Blue Creative Company has placed a kill order on all ships on its wanted list, and has promised to reward pilots who deliver bounty vouchers to ACUS Orbital. The campaign begins on the 28th of June 3304 and will run for 1 week. If the final target is met earlier than planned, the campaign will end immediately. Thargoid assault on the Dekiat system. An emergency report from Aegis confirms that the Thargoids have returned to the core systems with an incursion into the Dekiat system. Admiral Aiden Tanner, Aegis's chief military liaison, delivered this statement. Following the Thargoids' retreat, all evidence suggested that their surface sites had become dormant. But new data from our Eagle Eye network shows that they have surged back to life, and that the star maps inside these structures are now pinpointing the Dekiat system. It seems this was only a brief respite while they summoned reinforcements from the Pleiades. Latest intelligence indicates that Thargoid vessels are now congregating in large numbers in Dekiat space. This is an alarming development for the Garay Terminal starport, which is on high alert. There are also several megaships active in the region, which are potential targets for the Thargoids. On behalf of Aegis, I am calling on all members of the galactic community for assistance in defending Dekiat. Without the aid of independent pilots, all assets in the system could be overwhelmed, with the loss of thousands of lives. Appended to the Aegis report was the following transmission from an unnamed commander operating in the Dekiat system. I've just been attacked by something. Thargoid for sure, but my computer couldn't identify it. Some new kind of scout, maybe? The remainder of the transmission was unavailable. Aegis reduced
Collector limpet expired.
his tech broker requirements. Aegis had
Programming limpet drone.
announced that it will allow technology brokers to reduce their requirements for producing items, in order to increase overall combat effectiveness against the Thargoids. Henrik de la Soda, a senior engineer at Aegis Research, clarified this development. Aegis is aware that the galactic community has worked incredibly hard to oppose the Thargoids in the core systems. To show our appreciation, we are making it easier for independent pilots to obtain advanced weaponry and hardware. We have contacted all registered technology brokers and supplied them with additional funding, resources and manufacturing equipment. As a result, they now need fewer commodities and materials from those purchasing their designs. Our hope is that by helping pilots to upgrade their ships, we can enhance their survivability and encourage more commanders to join the fight against the Thargoids. Alliance Inspector killed by the League of Reparation. Chief Inspector Kay Kilbride has been murdered by terrorist organization the League of Reparation, along with 4 other agents of Alliance Interpol. The incident took place in the city of New Rossif, on Turnus World. A spokesperson for Interpol released a brief report. Chief Inspector Kilbride was acting on information that a League cell was operating from an abandoned foundry complex in New Rossif. She led an assault team with the intention of capturing the terrorists. Preliminary forensics suggest that the entire complex was rigged with concealed explosives. Kilbride and 4 of her colleagues were killed instantly, with 7 others injured. Kilbride was one of 3 founding members of the Tri-Superpower Task Force investigating the League of Reparation. The other 2, Captain Niam Sutonia and Senior Agent Tanya Ramirez, made a rare joint statement on behalf of the Imperial Internal Security Service and the Federal Intelligence Agency. This is a sad day. We have lost one of our greatest champions in the fight against terrorism. It's clear that the Chief Inspector was personally targeted with misinformation designed to lure her into a trap, an act of retaliation for her recent successes against the League. Although we mourn the loss of Inspector Kilbride, our work continues. Alliance Interpol has assigned Deputy Inspector Mara Klatt to assume the role of Task Force Liaison. We look forward to working with her to eliminate this fanatical organization. Deputy Inspector Klatt was unavailable for comment. Galaxy reacts to Federal Imperial betrothal. There has been a range of reactions to news that Princess Aisling Duval and Federal Ambassador Jordan Rochester are to be married. A congratulatory message was sent from the Imperial Palace, but there has been no personal comment from Emperor Marissa Lavigny Duval. News agencies on Capitol have reported rumors that the proposed marriage was not discussed with the Imperial family, and that the Emperor did not consent to the princess's engagement. Senator Zemina Torval offered a more definite statement of disapproval. This is an attention-seeking move from the princess, and a dangerous one. It is beyond her remit to impact Imperial policy in this manner. Allowing her to harbor romantic fantasies is one thing, but the Empire cannot countenance such a reckless political maneuver. Senator Caspian Leopold, who until recently was rumored to be courting Aisling Duval, was more supportive. I can assure you that many senators, patrons and citizens are delighted by the news. I've been privileged to witness Princess Aisling
Collector limpet expired.
in Ambassador Rochester's company, and they make a charming and affectionate couple. I wish them both all the happiness in the galaxy. There was no response from President Zachary Hudson, suggesting that the engagement was as unexpected to the Federation as to the Empire. But a statement was made by Congressman Isolde Rochester, the mother of Jordan Rochester. I support my son's relationship with Her Imperial Highness, and I consider this a positive step for all parties. The potential benefits of stronger ties between the Empire and the Federation are incalculable, particularly in the areas of trade and defense. Many of us in Congress hope that this happy event spearheads a new era of cooperation. Reactions from independent systems have ranged from joy to outrage. The only official response from the Alliance came from a spokesperson for the Office of Prime Minister Edmund Mahone, who said, "The Alliance offers cordial congratulations to the couple, although it remains to be seen if their intentions become a reality." Week in Review. Here are this week's major stories. Aegis has confirmed that the Thargoid presence in the core systems has been
Programming limpet drone.
significantly diminished, due largely to the efforts
Programming limpet drone.
of the galactic community. Although the Thargoids remain entrenched in the Pleiades, their forces in the core systems have been pushed back to the Baal system, their initial beachhead. In related news, Aegis has
Collector limpet expired.
confirmed that 3 starports attacked and damaged by Thargoid forces have now been restored to full functionality, following supportive efforts from the galactic community. The pertinent starports are Armstrong Enterprise, in the Baal system, Beaufoy Vision, in the Norni system, and Reed's Rest, in the Merope system. In other news, Princess Aisling Duval has announced that she is to wed Federal Ambassador Jordan Rochester. Both Princess Duval and Mr. Rochester expressed hope that their marriage would strengthen ties between the Empire and the Federation. There has been no official comment from the Imperial Palace or the White House on the engagement. A homicide attempt by terrorist organization the League of Reparation has been foiled, and the would-be killers taken into custody. Kay Kilbride of Alliance Interpol confirmed that the captives had been transported to a secure facility for interrogation, with a view to establishing the identity of Nexus, the League's apparent coordinator. Meanwhile, renowned billionaire Zachary Rackham, owner of Rackham Capital Investments, has made a sizable charitable donation to build new shipyards in the Colonia region. Every planetary port in the region, Bar Colonia Hub, will soon be able to offer pilots a full range of services. Aegis has announced plans to build a military installation in the Pleiades. An Aegis spokesperson confirmed that the development was a response to the recent occupation of the Socho system, headquarters of Aegis Corps, by a hostile criminal element. Aegis Research has placed an open order for mined resources for use in the construction. Finally, Senator Caspian Leopold has announced that his appeal for commodities has been enthusiastically received by the galactic community.
Programming limpet drone.
The materials will be used to build a rehabilitation center for those affected by war. And those are the main stories this week. Aisling Duval announces marriage to Federal Ambassador. Princess Aisling Duval has made an unexpected announcement regarding her relationship with Federal Ambassador Jordan Rochester. At a press conference in her palace on Emerald, the princess looked radiant as she addressed the media. It's no secret that Jordan and I grew close during his official visit. The time has come to let you know that we are to be husband and wife. I'm aware that some will see this as unorthodox, even controversial, but love knows no borders. It's our wish that our marriage will build lasting bridges between the Empire and the Federation. A statement from Ambassador Rochester appeared in a special edition of the Federal Times. Representing the Federation has been my life's work, but meeting Her Highness, Aisling, made me realize that being by her side means even more. We hope that our betrothal will usher in a new era of cooperation between the two superpowers. Among the media reactions was this from entertainment journalist Solomon Helios. I've been reporting on Princess Duval's romantic life for a while now, and even I didn't see this coming. Can Aisling really pull this off? Could a Federation gentleman actually marry into the Imperial family? Will Emperor Lavigny Duval and President Hudson share a dance at the wedding, or will they step in to prevent this union from taking place? The galaxy might never be the same again. As yet there has been no official comment from the Imperial Palace or the White House. Refugee initiative complete. Senator
Collector limpet expired.
Leopold has announced that his appeal for commodities, in association with Niflhel Corp, has been enthusiastically received by the galactic community. Hundreds of pilots supported the initiative by delivering commodities to Biruni Port, and by protecting traders in the Niflhel system. A spokesperson for Senator Leopold made the following statement. Thanks to the work of many brave pilots, we can now begin construction of a rehabilitation center that will keep innocent families safe from the ravages of war. Senator Leopold hopes that this is just the beginning, and that through further acts of philanthropy he might help spread peace throughout the galaxy. Pilots who contributed to the initiative can now collect their awards from Biruni Port in the Niflhel system. Aegis Installation Campaign. Aegis has announced plans to build a military installation
Programming limpet drone.
in the Pleiades sector, IRW, D155. An Aegis spokesperson gave the following statement to the media. After the recent occupation of Socho by a hostile criminal element, it is imperative that Aegis bolster its holdings in the Pleiades sector, IRW, D155. The construction of a military installation will allow us to continue our fight against the Thargoids unhindered by external forces. Aegis Research has placed an open order for mined resources, promising to reward pilots who deliver these to the Oracle, in the Pleiades sector, IRW, D155. The organization has also placed a kill order on all ships on its wanted list, to ensure those contributing commodities to the campaign can do so safely. The campaign begins on the 21st of June 3304 and will run for 1 week. If the final target is met earlier than planned, the campaign will end immediately. Starports recover from Thargoid strikes. 3 starports attacked and damaged by Thargoid forces have now been restored to full functionality. Carter Armstrong, Chief Administrator with Aegis Corps, told the press. When we requested help to repair Thargoid-hit starports, we hoped the galactic community would be generous, but they exceeded our expectations. A colossal influx of materials has enabled us to repair 2 stations in the core systems in record time. I'm pleased to announce that Armstrong Enterprise in the Baal system, and Beaufoy Vision, in the Norni system are now open for business. Keeping these starports operable allows us to honor those who lost their lives in the Thargoid attacks. Enormous thanks to everyone who participated. Senior Engineer Lilith Galloway of Aegis Research, who coordinated a parallel project, released a similar statement. Here in the Pleiades, survival is never guaranteed. But Reed's rest in Merope has endured, thanks to the galactic community's incredible support. This is what we do when things get tough. We rebuild and come back stronger. All 3 starports are now fully operational and providing a range of services. Thargoids repelled from core systems. Aegis has confirmed that the Thargoids' presence in the core systems has been significantly diminished.
Collector limpet expired.
Due largely to the efforts of the galactic community. Admiral Aidan Tanner, Chief Military Liaison with Aegis, made this statement. This is a very positive development. Using data from our Eagle Eye network, courageous members of the galactic community have formed a barrier of steel and fire, preventing
Programming limpet drone.
Thargoid vessels from encroaching further. In doing so, they have prevented several starports from being attacked, saving many thousands of lives. Furthermore, in many regions the Thargoid incursion has actually been reversed. Although they remain entrenched within the Pleiades, their forces in the core systems have been pushed back to the Baal system, their initial beachhead. Aegis offers its sincere thanks and congratulations to every one of the commanders who risked their lives by meeting our enemy in battle. These audacious pilots have proved that humanity's spirit is far from broken. Victory against the Thargoids will be hard won, but I am in no doubt that with defenders of this caliber, it will one day be achieved. League of Reparation agents apprehended. A homicide attempt by terrorist organization.
Collector limpet expired.
The League of Reparation has been foiled, and the would-be killers taken into custody. The arrests were made by Chief Inspector Kay Kilbride of Alliance Interpol, who is part of the United Task Force investigating the League. She released
Programming limpet drone.
this statement. I am pleased to confirm that the latest assassination attempt by the League of Reparation has been prevented, and that we have apprehended several of the group's members. The operation involved revealing the location of one Dina Law, a descendant of INRA employee Tristan Law. We anticipated that the League would follow its modus operandi and attempt to eliminate Miss Law, so with her cooperation we placed task force agents at her home. Fortunately, they were able to overpower the terrorists. The captives have been transported to a secure Interpol facility for interrogation. Our primary aim is to establish the identity of Nexus, the entity that provides the organization's members with their instructions. I have already conducted preliminary questioning of the prisoners and have acquired some significant facts. I'm confident that this is the beginning of the end for the League of Reparation, and that the task force's efforts will soon pay off. Starport status update. This report presents the latest data on starports experiencing technical issues as a result of Thargoid sensor-related interference. The following starports are on the brink of closure. Investor funds Colonia Shipyards. Renowned billionaire Zachary Rackham, owner of Rackham Capital Investments, has made a sizable charitable donation to build new shipyards in the Colonia region. Mr. Rackham, known in some circles as Calico Zach, made this statement. If there's one thing I remember from flying around the galaxy in a second-hand Sidewinder, with a leaky life support module, and only 50 credits in my pocket, it's the thrill of exploration. And Colonia is the embodiment of that spirit, the farthest flung outpost of civilization. That's why I want to support it by funding the development of new shipyards. Every planetary port in the region, bar Colonia Hub, will soon be able to offer pilots the support services they need. It's my way of celebrating a youth filled with poverty and danger, by giving a boost to the next generation of explorers. Brianna Blanco, a financial journalist for the Federal Times, also published a statement. Obviously this is tremendous news for Colonia and all those operating within the region. The timing of Rackham's donation is curious, however, coming as it does shortly before a company-wide audit. Having such a colossal sum placed beyond the reach of tax officials will certainly help that old pirate and his crew of accountants sleep better at night. Week in review. Here are this week's major stories. Princess Ashley.
Collector limpet expired.
Duval's
Programming limpet drone.
anti-slavery campaign has merged with independent charity Universal Liberty. The rebranded organization is named Unchain. The former head of Universal Liberty, Jarl Toredo, expressed his delight at the union, while rebuffing questions about his rumored romantic attachment to Aisling Duval. Lori Jameson has made a public statement regarding the League of Reparation, which claims to be seeking justice for her ancestor, Commander John Jameson. She denied any connection to the organization while describing
Collector limpet expired.
its actions as misguided, unnecessary and evil. Meanwhile, an independent journalist has suggested that the League of Reparation may be responsible for many more deaths than previously suspected, drawing a link between the terrorist organization and various unsolved
Collector limpet expired.
homicides. Chief Inspector Kay Kilbride of Alliance Interpol denied that the cold cases had any connection to the League of Reparation. A new academic article has drawn attention to a
Programming limpet drone.
French religion that worships the Thargoids.
Programming limpet drone.
The sect, which has no formal name, believes that the Thargoids are heralds of an omnipotent entity called the Far God. Dr. Alfred Ulyanov, a leading expert in exotheology, has published an extensive commentary on the sect. In other news, Senator Caspian Leopold has launched an initiative to construct a rehabilitation center for those affected by heightened military action in the core systems. A spokesperson for Senator Leopold said, "An escalation in hostilities from both Argoid and human parties has left a lot of innocent civilians without food or shelter. Senator Leopold has heard their cries for help, and is building a sanctuary where the safety of refugees can be guaranteed." Finally, the competing campaigns from the Lathe Radio Network and the Lathe Jet family have come to an end. Both factions received support from independent pilots, to whom generous rewards were promised. But ultimately there could be only one victor. And those are the main stories this week. Lori Jameson denounces terrorist organization. The engineer Lori Jameson has made a public statement regarding the League of Reparation. The terrorist group claims to be seeking justice for the betrayal of her ancestor, the legendary pilot Commander John Jameson. Her message was recorded at Jameson Memorial and broadcast by several media networks. There's been a lot of speculation about what connection I might have with the so-called League of Reparation, which has murdered a number of people in recent weeks. The answer is none whatsoever. Like all of you, I am sickened by this bizarre form of genealogical terrorism. I'm not prepared to discuss my family in a public forum, but I want everyone to know that I am personally appalled by this, and am doing everything I can to help the authorities. I'm sure that Nexus, whoever or whatever it might be, is listening to this message. So to them I say, stop. These acts of revenge for my great-grandfather are misguided, unnecessary and evil. If you really want to honor his name, you'll allow us to live in peace without fear. Senior Agent Tanya Ramirez, a member of the Tri-Power Task Force dedicated to stopping the League, added, "I can confirm that Lori Jameson is cooperating with our investigation. We are completely satisfied that she, her family and her associates are entirely unconnected to the League of Reparation. We hope that her message convinces Nexus to see sense and stop this pointless violence." Worshipping the Thargoids. A French religion that worships the Thargoids has come under the spotlight in a new academic article. The author, Dr. Alfred Ulyanov, is a leading expert in exotheology. He summarized his work for the media. A recent report by Gethin Okonkwo highlighted the emergence of doomsayer cults in response to the return of the Thargoids. But few are as strange as my current object of study, an organization that considers the Thargoids to be not merely alien, but divine. This mysterious sect doesn't have a formal name. The central tenet of its faith is that the Thargoids we have encountered so far are messengers, dark angels sent to prepare us for the true sacred,
Collector limpet expired. Programming limpet
which will
drone.
soon enter our plane of existence from another universe. They refer to this as the Far God. As with many monotheistic belief structures, this cult considers the Far God to be unknowable and omnipotent, but also apocalyptic. Only true believers such as themselves will survive its manifestation. Visiting one of the cult's hive chapels is an unsettling experience. Aside from a few pulsing green lights, they are very dark, and most surfaces are covered in a black coral-like substance. The congregation's prayers are directed toward an altar resembling the starfish shape of Thargoid vessels, almost like an octagonal crucifix. It's impossible to ignore that the entire place reeks of ammonia. Cult members tend to wear simple hooded robes with no markings. They are intense and resolute, but many look unhealthy. It seems that this lifestyle attracts those on the very edge of society, whose low self-esteem leaves them vulnerable to beliefs that erode their identity. As an exotheologian, I am of course fascinated by the sociological impact of non-human influences. But even for a scientist, it is difficult not to feel pity, and perhaps a little revulsion, for those who identify more with a hostile species than with their own people. Lathe Radio Network campaign concludes. The Lathe Radio Network has announced that its campaign has reached a successful conclusion. Scores of pilots supported the initiative by delivering commodities to Lathe Station, thereby allowing the network to broadcast its annual conference to the entire galaxy. A rival campaign from the Lathe Jet family was unable to destabilize the Lathe Radio initiative, despite also receiving the support of independent pilots. As the campaign drew to a close, one of the organizers released a statement. The signal is spreading. We would like to extend our gratitude to the galactic community for making this possible. Pilots who contributed to the initiative can now collect their rewards from Lathe Station in the Lathe system. League of Reparation implicated in historic deaths. A recent report suggests that terrorist organization the League of Reparation may be responsible for many more deaths than previously suspected. Independent journalist Flint Firemaker Lafosi shared his theories on the Rewired newsfeed. We know these League guys are wiping out people whose grandfolks used to work for the INRA, and it seems like things started when they poisoned that Imperial senator. But what if that wasn't their first murder, merely the first time they claimed responsibility? What if they've been active for years and nobody noticed? I've been digging through
Collector limit expired.
records of unsolved homicides. There's a dozen in the Federation alone where the cause of death was some kind of nerve agent, just like with the Senator and a few others. Not all the victims were identified, but I found 4 who definitely had the INRA in their past. These people didn't die recently but between 1 and 5 years ago. Coincidence? The League also likes to
Programming limpet drone.
blast its targets out of the sky. Think of all those unexplained shipwrecks found drifting in space over the years. How many were because one of the crew had some long-forgotten INRA connection? Dozens? Hundreds? How long has the League been hiding among us, silently taking out ordinary people? And who's next? Chief Inspector K. Kilbride of Alliance Interpol responded on behalf of the United Task Force investigating the League. We cannot verify that these cold cases have any link with the League of Reparation. We'd also like to caution against this kind of baseless conjecture, which only serves to spread confusion.
Collector limpet expired.
We are still
Programming limpet drone.
pursuing more concrete leads, and hope to make a breakthrough very soon. Refugee Center Initiative. Due to heightened military action in the core systems, Senator Caspian Leopold has launched an initiative to construct a rehabilitation center for those affected by the ongoing conflict. A spokesperson for Senator Leopold gave the following statement to the media. An escalation in hostilities from both the Argoid and human
Collector limpet expired.
parties has left a lot of innocent civilians without food or shelter. Senator Leopold has heard their cries for help, and is building a sanctuary where the safety of refugees can be guaranteed. The Niflhel Corporation, which is overseeing the initiative, has placed an open order for cobalt, semiconductors, and synthetic fabrics, promising to reward pilots who deliver these commodities to Birani port in the Niflhel system. The organization has also placed a kill order on all ships on its wanted list, to ensure those contributing commodities to the initiative can do so safely. The campaign begins on the 14th of June 3304 and will run for 1 week. If the final target is met earlier than planned, the campaign will end immediately. Anti-slavery organizations unite. Princess Aisling Duval's anti-slavery campaign has merged with independent charity Universal Liberty. The rebranded organization is named Unchain. The former head of Universal Liberty, Jarl Toredo, made an announcement to the media. There's no shortage of poverty and suffering within the Empire, however much some may try to hide it. Few have the courage to face the truth, but Princess Duval has been an inspiration. So I'm very pleased that we're joining forces with her campaign to end slavery. I was born into slavery. My parents were still slaves when they died. It is for them, and for all human beings treated as less than human, that we demand legal slavery be abolished. I'm proud to be part of Unchain, which will spread our message across the Empire. When asked about rumors linking him romantically with Aisling Duval, Torido said only, "I suspect Her Highness's attention is focused elsewhere." Starport status update. This report presents the latest data on starports experiencing technical issues as a result of Thargoid sensor-related interference. The following starports are currently closed: Alden Prospect, Alpha Centauri; Forbes Terminal, Algorab; Mare Hub, Coolisi; Thornycroft Settlement, Coolisi; Schwan Port, Hajangai. Meanwhile, the following starports are on the brink of closure: Ocrinox's Orbiter, Munshine; Galileo, Sol; Craftworks, Alberta. Week in Review. Here are this week's major stories. A descendant of Amarohen, one of the UNRWA's senior members, has been murdered by terrorist group the League of Reparation. The murder recreated the circumstances of Commander John Jameson's death, and has been interpreted as an act of poetic justice by the League of Reparation. Senior Agent Tanya Ramirez said that the League was using theatrical tactics to ensure its message reached the media. In other news, Princess Aisling Duval met with not one but two of her suitors over the weekend: Federal Ambassador Jordan Rochester and Senator Caspian Leopold. The former was invited to a function at the Princess's Palace on Emerald, while the latter made an unofficial visit the following day. Meanwhile, the Lathe Radio Network has announced plans to broadcast its annual conference from the Dassault system. To ensure they can share the event with the entire galaxy, the network has placed an open order for various commodities. But the Lathe Jet family has responded with a rival campaign designed to undermine the Lathe Radio initiative, inviting pilots to deliver commodities to help in the construction of a signal jammer. Two initiatives to restore starports damaged by the Thargoids have reached successful conclusions. Hundreds of pilots supported the campaigns by delivering construction materials to Dantec Enterprise in the Socho system, and to the Oracle in the Pleiades. Finally, a valuable work of art has been stolen by a mysterious and highly skilled criminal. A spray-painted graphic of what looked like a winking cat was discovered at the scene of the crime, which took place in the Garden City Gallery on Turnus World in the Alioth system. Garden City security forces are investigating, but as yet have no leads. And those are the main stories this week. Theft baffles security experts. A valuable work of art has been stolen by a mysterious and highly skilled criminal.
Collector limpet expired.
The theft took place in the Garden City Gallery on Turnus World in the Alioth system. Sergeant
Programming limpet drone.
Kami Abram of the Municipal Police discussed the incident. Our security specialists are currently at a loss to explain how this occurred. The piece in question was inside a titanium vault surrounded by plasma grids, proximity alarms and thermal sensors. This morning we found the vault door open and all security systems disabled. On the wall was a spray-painted graphic of what looked like a winking cat. The piece in question is a digital painting titled Viewscape. This unusual cyber artwork includes micro cameras linked to an AI node that monitor the viewer's reactions. Over time, the image alters in response to the owner's tastes. The artwork was scheduled to be auctioned the following day. The artist,
Collector limpet expired.
Barclay Exor, told the media, "Some low-life scum has robbed the artistic community of a groundbreaking achievement, and cost me millions of credits, too. To leave common graffiti in its place is the ultimate insult."
Programming limpet drone.
City security forces are continuing to investigate, but as yet have no leads.
limpet drone. Cargo scoop deployed. Programming limpet drone. Limpet expired. Programming limpet drone. expired. Programming limpet drone. Collector limpet expired. Programming limpet drone. Collector limpet expired. Programming limpet drone. Programming limpet drone. Programming limpet drone. Limpet expired. Cargo scoop retracted.
Okay, Commander. Fighter en route back to Mothership.
Frameshift drive
Fighters
charging.
locked down. We're good to go, Commander.
Ready to engage.
request approved. Please make your way to landing pad 09er.